So for those of you who don't know what the Georgia Guidestones are, basically it was an art project set off on the east coast of Georgia that was rules for the apocalypse on how to rebuild society, which was kind of pretentious. And the stones also acted as a calendar, and it was written in a bunch of languages. It was just some art project, some monument, tourist trap, whatever. I don't really care. I never heard about it until I was in middle school, and I was going through I was watching a lot of shit to do with like apocalyptic scenarios, because it was like around 2012, so there was like a lot of apocalyptic media coming out. I was really into like a zombie shit because there was some movies that I really liked. I was Doomsday Preppers was all over fucking my TV channels. So I was watching all kinds of shit about it. So of course at some point I heard about the Guidestones and like the rules of restarting after the apocalypse, and I was like, that's neat. That's cool, I guess. But it wasn't until much later, and by much later I mean maybe what's it now, 3 months ago, where I found out that there was a conspiracy theory about, the stones. Basically, a lot of people believe that the stones were kind of like a setup for the extermination and the depopulation of the human race to bring about the New World Order. Now, to me, that doesn't make any sense. Mainly because, one, I don't believe in the whole cabal, Satanist, New World Order bullshit, But it also makes no sense to me because this is tips for starting up society after an apocalypse, not a plan laid out of how to make said apocalypse. Not to mention, most of the stuff on the stones wasn't even anything controversial. It was just like, keep conflicts within yourself, don't let stuff boil. Like, it was some basic shit that, like, anyone would, know. It's like in movies and shit, like the most boring ass shit, like Walking Dead levels type shit, So it was like, I didn't buy it as a conspiracy theory, but that's been something that's been growing on the right ever since, especially since QAnon really took off. So, yeah, it's been an issue. And why am I bringing up all of this? Well, the Guidestones kind of had a moment recently. Something that's been a little bit everywhere. Yeah, they were blown up. The Guidestones were exploded, blown up, and a vehicle left and all of that. And now supposedly there's people camping by the thing where the site was, because afterwards it was, it got blown up. It was eventually bulldozed, and now there's people camping in the area waiting to see if people are going to replace it, and yada yada. Some weird shit going on with all of that. Well, with all of that, it's a little weird because some pretty big names are it's conspiracy theory, so we expect this to be small, like, oh, this is some fringe thing that's happened. No, it's not. Yeah, it's not really fringe when someone running for the governor position of Georgia puts out a whole ass ad about it.
Some might even say they had to get our permission to at least tell us ahead of time, even if we didn't believe them. Over 4 billion people have been injected with something that took just 9 months to create. Ask yourself why. Back in biblical times, human sacrifice was a form of demonic worship. We're still doing it in present day by killing our unborn. It's the same demons, it's the same sacrifice, it's the same sin. It's just a different time.
This is a long shot in and of itself, running for governor against an incumbent. Why are you doing this?
If we don't call things out and we don't acknowledge them and we don't take authority and take dominion over what God's given us, then we are no better than the evil ones that put it up. We've watched as people have destroyed our history and monuments, and in their place they have erected statues to their own gods.
Wait a minute. I didn't even think about it, but is she calling like Confederates, like old ass Confederate generals, like statues of God? Oh, that's fucking weird. That's so fucking funny.
The New World Order is here, and they told us it was coming. It's a battle far greater than what we see in the natural. It is a war between good and evil.
Abolish the Georgia Guidestones. Whoa. Safe to say that's exactly what happened. The Guidestones were more or less abolished. Abolished right to rubble. But that was from GOP runner Candace Taylor, who, when she ran for governor, she did not do particularly well. In fact, she did quite poor, with only 3.4% of the vote, which is funny as shit to me. Because after that, after elections were called and came in, she lost her shit and cried and refused to concede. Destroying the stones does not destroy the idea behind them. I mean, they were just an art piece, you know? They weren't even, there's no idea behind it. It's just someone's like, this is for after when humanity bites it. This is a monument to man. They'll use my project for generations and look at me as if I was a god. No, it's just some dumbass with a hammer, chisel, and a stone saw doing some shit. There was no like thought behind of like, this is how we're gonna depopulate the world. Someone paid a lot of money to erect these stones, so the group seems to be confident in what it says. Well, yeah, people erect money. People spend money to erect shit all the time. Look at every statue that is privately owned in any part of the U.S. Like there's privately owned Confederate statues, privately owned mausoleum statues of old family members. There's like a Lenin statue somewhere in like Washington State or something. People have money to do like these large vanity projects, Plus, this is not even like it was made of metal. It was stones, Stones compared to like metal statues can be relatively cheap, especially in some stone-heavy states like Georgia. Like it's nothing, People's like, this must have cost millions of dollars. Probably not. Probably a couple $100,000, which is a stupid waste of money. But people do that shit all the time, I'm trying to find the video where she cried. Yes, and the builders behind want to show and say something. We got a lot of communistic ones from communists which love the idea of communism. I mean, that's more or less how societies tend to work after the apocalypse, right? Have you seen any like apocalyptic movie? Like, have you seen like have you watched The Walking Dead? Basically what happens in that show, it tends to be, hey, the good guys, we're all working together to survive this horrible situation. And then big bad guy with the eye patch is like, no, my people do what I say. I'm a big, strong leader, and I took it by force. It's like overly simplified and cartoonish views of like how society will be rebuilt after the end of the world. To say it's a communist thing is a bit of a stretch when it's more of just like, this is how every apocalyptic movie, post-apocalyptic movie tends to go, It's not like anything super crazy like communist, like all of that. It's more just like, we work together to make this because after the world is gone, You have only each other to lean upon. It's like, well, yeah, that makes sense, right? Can't really rebuild society by yourself, you know? Can't can't jizz a new society out, you know? I mean, I don't overrate these stones, but there is someone who advocates such an ideology. There are people who follow it. What ideology? This is a set of rules to follow after the apocalypse. I mean, there is like Poseidism, where people like who want the world to just fucking explode in a nuclear hellfire so they can retry again. There is that, but it's not a very known ideology. And if the Guidestones was the biggest claim to fame they had, that'd be fucking hilarious. Single-handedly destroy that whack job of an ideology. That'd be hilarious. But like the people who are claiming it's the New World Order, how is that like anything to do with the New World Order? You know? In Germany, a lot of young people, Greens, say that they are too much on this world and that we have to stop making children and so on. And all for the climate and the movement is okay, but this is stuff to follow after the apocalypse. It's not stuff to make the apocalypse. Like none of this is saying like to stop having babies, this, you know, or anything like that. In fact, if anything, this may be doing the opposite, because it says we need to rebuild society rather than just like, oh, society's gone, go back in the woods and go unga bunga, you know? This is kind of the opposite. This is like saying, hey, bring back civilization. Like, you know, I don't see how this is, I don't see like the claim to fame of how this is evil and all that. A lot of people mention like just the mere mention of society ending is shown that they want to end it. And it's like, or they were caught up in the hype of like all these end of the world movements that have been shown up throughout American history all the fucking time. You know, we're a culture constantly obsessed with the rapture and the end times. You go onto any channel, any politics, any religious channel, it's always talking about this is the end of days, it's the end of everything that's good, whatever, yada, yada. It's baked into our senses because for years there's just been religious turmoil over like, we're in the end times now. So, yeah. Yeah, it's just it's just there, you know, so the end of the world is constantly on our minds. Not to mention the Red Scare and nuclear war constantly being a threat. Americans kind of have a keen idea of just like, oh shit, this could end at any moment, you know? So that being like the thought piece for someone's art project of like rocks in a field in the middle of bumfuck nowhere in Georgia. Yeah, what about that, you know? But like I said, a lot of, you know, that seeing the stones as like a conspiracy theory was a fringe thing, but then we get a good old Candace Taylor running in with her new political campaign with Executive Order 10, destroy the Guidestones, and then she loses, and then we get this good moment from her. We get this good moment
for justice. I wanted y'all to know that I do not concede. I do not. And if the people who did this and cheated are watching, I do not concede. And the people of Georgia will not allow me to. I want you to feel inside of your gut a righteous anger for justice. I want you to pray specifically, I want you to pray.
Yeah, whatever. Basically, she's just saying, I know I won. So what if I only got 3.4% of the vote? They faked it. This is all fake. I really won. When, you know, clearly the whole Guidestones thing kind of shows she's batshit insane. But then this kind of proves it. And that's the whole point of what I'm saying. Anyone who believes this shit is a little bit insane, you know? Anyone who's out there camping, waiting for someone to rebuild the stones, are also insane, you know? Oh, we don't know how they got there. Yeah, it's kind of the point. It was supposed to be a mystery. There's a lot of mysterious art projects and films and photos that people have no idea about where they came from. Like look at all these fucking creepypastas and internet shit. Like, come on, it's not that something crazy to wrap your head around. But, you know, these people are just, again, A little bit crazy, a little bit insane. So, what do you expect of them? Other than to blow up some rocks. True caveman brain. Blow up rock. Oonga boonga.